Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is N.Fatihah Hamza and I am from Group C. Today, me and my teammates will be presenting to all of you on our group project for probability and statistics. In this presentation, we are going to share with all of you regarding our case study entitled A Statistical Research on the Relationship Between Emotion and Students' Performance. Here, I present to you my team and I that are responsible for this very project. First and foremost, I am going to tell you the overview of our project. As a student, we are very curious if our grade point average GPA on a particular semesters are affected by our emotions. So, we have decided to conduct a survey on does being emotionally unstable affect your performance as a student? We are looking forward to see how all of the students from different kuliah respond to this poll. As for our problem statement, we want to find out whether being emotionally unstable affects students' academic performance or not, since most people say that majority of the students across the world are suffering with emotional instability. Now, we are going to share the result that we obtained from this survey.
Next, I will be presenting the data we collected on the relationship between emotional instability among students and its impact on their academic performance. We surveyed a group of students and asked them a series of questions related to their experience of emotional instability and its effects. Let's dive into the data. As you guys can see on the slide, we have gathered responses from 50 students. Each response includes information such as students' age, whether they have experienced emotional instability, how they cope when they're feeling down, the impact on their academic performance, and when they feel most emotionally unstable. That's it.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurajma Aisyah binti Muslim with metro number 2219444. So today, I will be explaining on 4.0 method preliminary analysis. So for the first question, we have come up with graph relationship between age range and frequency of emotional instability. So we come up with pie chart and also histogram, and below is the frequency of students' status of emotional instability. Then we will do the calculation for the data that we have collected. For mean, we will use formula frequency times with value and which is age, and then divide by the size of the sample. So we will get 20.84. For model classes, it is 19 to 21 range because for this class, it is the highest number of frequency. The mode is 20, and the mid-range, we will use formula lowest plus highest divided by 2, and we will get 16.5. Next, we will calculate variance and standard deviation. For variance, we will use as the formula shown, and then we will get 1.85, and to get standard deviation, we just need to square root the value of variance, and then we will get 1.36. And from the histogram that we have created from the data that we have collected, we can conclude that the data for student status of emotional instability is skewed to the right. Next, we will use Chebyshev theorem. Chebyshev theorem states that at least 3/4 or 75% of the data values will fall within 2 standard deviation of the mean of the data set. This is proved by the formula 1 minus 1 over k squared. And then first, we will let k equal to 2, and then we will enter the formula, and then we will get 3 over 4, which is equals to 75%. And then we will find range by subtract and add 2 standard deviation from the mean. First, which is mean minus with 2 times standard deviation, and another range is mean plus with 2 times standard deviation. And then we will get, when we let k equals to 2, we will get the first range is 18.12 and the second range is 23.56. Thus, for when we let k is equal to 2, at least 75% of the data values will fall between 18.12 and 23.56. And then followed by the next value, which is when we let k is equal to 3, which means the data values will fall within 3 standard deviation of the mean of data set. And again, we will enter k equals to 3 into the formula, and then we will get 88.89%. And again, we will find the range. So for k is equal to 3, at least 88.89% of the data values will fall between 16.76 and 24.92. Followed by k is equal to 4, and we will get at least 93.75% of the data values will fall between 15.4 and 26.28. Hence, the mean falls within 4 standard deviations. That is for yes choice. And then this is for the maybe choice that students have select. And then again, we will do mean, we'll find model classes, mode and mid-range using the same formula as before. And when we want to find the variance and standard deviation, the value is 0 because there is two range of age, and the first range have 4 value, meanwhile the frequency of another range is 0. That is why there is no standard deviation and variance. And again, using the histogram, we can conclude that the data is skewed to the right. Because the value of standard deviation is 0, there is no Chebyshev theorem that applied to this choice. This is as the same with before. And next, we will move to another question. As we can see, this is graph for relationship between emotional instability and frequency of students' academic performance. So we have come up with pie chart, histogram, and table 4.4 is frequency of students' academic performance due to emotional instability. As we can see, the selection for good, both from age range, did not vote and get 0. So we will not do the calculation for that part. Next, it's also the same with before. We need to find the mean, model classes, mode and mid-range using the same formula, and also the variance and standard deviation. And from the histogram, we can conclude that this data is skewed to the left. Again, we use the Chebyshev theorem to find the range of the data value. This is for the badly affected choice. So that is all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurul Nadira Bint Zakaria. My matric number is 2213698. I'm going to present to you guys about full method analysis. So without further ado, let's get it started. Now, based on the analysis of figures 4.1, the pie chart that had been shown just now provides a comprehensive analysis on frequency of emotional instability among students. Well, it is clearly stated that the majority of the students, accounting for 86% of the total, responded with yes when asked about their emotional instability, while a smaller proportion of participants, comprising 6% of the total, responded with no. It suggests that they do not experience emotional instability, while the remaining 8% of the participants responded with maybe, indicating that they are uncertain or ambiguity regarding their emotional instability. Well, this suggests that emotional instability tends to have a negative impact on academic performance, particularly for students in both age groups. And for the mean score of student, The student's status of emotional instability that answered no is better than the student that answered yes and maybe. Well, the mean score for students who reported experiencing emotional instability is 20.84%, while those who were uncertain about their emotional instability scored a mean of 20. And the students who reported no emotional instability scored a higher mean of 22. It is also important to note that those who reported a bad academic performance had a mean score of 21.23. In contrast to that, the students who reported their academic performance not being affected by emotional instability had a slightly lower mean score of 20.81. Well, notably, no students in the data sample achieved a good academic performance. This conclusion is logical and tally with our hypothesis. The result is accepted due to evidence and relation found. This also supports our limitations and weaknesses of our research, thus so is the hypothesis, so it is accepted. Furthermore, upon analyzing the histograms and statistical measures, several observations can be made. The majority of samples show a model class of 19 to 21 and mode value of 20, except for sample no choice under content 4.2 student status of emotional instability. This results on almost all histograms to skew to the right, except sample for not affected and bad choice for emotional instability and academic performance. For standard deviations, the low sample may be choice under emotional instability, and that is 0, with the second place go to sample for yes, which is under the same category, which is 1.36, and the higher goes to the no choice with a standard deviation of 1.73. While the lower the standard deviation means the histogram is less spread and less variable, consequently more consistent and vice versa. And lastly, for the Chebyshev's theorem, all of the data values from all students' status of emotional instability sample falls within 4 standard deviations from the mean. This is supported by the observations that finds out there are no data values from the sample maybe choice. And that is all for the full method analysis. Thank you.
Next, for the general discussion, we begin with the purpose of this research or objective. First, the frequency of emotional instability. Second, the student status of emotional instability. And the last one is frequency of students' academic performance. The results obtained show that the students who score bad GPA are more likely students that do have emotional instability. For the result was same from what we predicted, which is that emotional instability has a negative influence on student academic performance. The study has limitations or shortcomings that may affect the findings, reliability, and also the validity. The first one is the small number of respondents via the online survey, and also the poor collection data based on range age.
In conclusion, our research has revealed the significant impact of emotional instability on students' academic performance. We have identified academic stress as a major contributing factor, further exacerbated by the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. As we wrap up, it's essential to highlight our key recommendations based on our findings. These recommendations aim to help students cope with emotional instability and enhance their academic performance. Firstly, institutions should prioritize mental health support services by providing accessible and comprehensive resources such as counseling services, stress management workshops, and raising awareness about available mental health resources. We can create a supportive environment for students. Secondly, encouraging stress management techniques is crucial. Students should be taught effective strategies like mindfulness, relaxation exercises, and time management to help them better manage their emotion and cope with academic stress. Thirdly, establishing peer support networks can make a significant difference. Creating a platforms or groups where students can connect, share experience, and provide peer guidance can foster a sense of belonging and support, alleviating emotional instability. Lastly, institutions should provide academic support services, offering study skill workshops, tutoring programs, and clear communication of expectation and available resources can assist students in managing their workload effectively and improving their overall academic performance. By implementing this recommendation, we can create a supportive and conducive environment for students to navigate emotional instability and excel academically. That's it from our group. Thank you so much for your attention.